Catflap chats. Don't know what episode this is. Another lockdown episode. Kind of lost count now. Don't know what day it is. Don't know what month it is. Still in lockdown, although that's being eased now. Lovely to have. Actually today. I'm excited about today because it's not often that we have someone who's become an elite level athlete in two different sports. So pleased to welcome on Mica Moore. So thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. I think I took Catflap a little bit literally and brought along my cat, but that's fine, right?
That's all right. All kittens are allowed. What's the name?
He shouldn't make too much noise. His name is Mike Wazowski.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you can see this, but he's only got the one eye.
Oh.
So it's like a little green one-eyed alien.
That's a hell of a start to a podcast. Never had that before. So what's going on then? What's news with you at the moment?
Not a lot, really. Obviously, with lockdown, I've been furloughed by my everyday adult job, I call it.
Yeah.
So I work in medical sales usually, so can't go into hospital. So I've had to stay home. But I mean, for me, it's not too bad. It's kind of a blessing in disguise. I get to train all day and out in the sun. We've been really lucky with the weather. So it's not been the worst case scenario for me.
And so for people who might not know your background, obviously Commonwealth Sprinter and then obviously GB Bobsled, which are obviously two very different disciplines. How have you been able to keep training up? So what training are you doing in lockdown at the moment?
Well, I mean, there's nothing that I haven't really been able to do. I'm a bit of a planner and a prepper. So when I thought we were going to go into lockdown, I started planning away what we could do. I mean, I've got a 2-bedroom house, so there's not a lot that could happen inside the house. But my Fiat is a gym right now. I've got a little Fiat 500 and that's become a gym. So it's got all my weights in there. I bought a running machine, which currently resides in my living room. So I have sort of a gym lounge. And I've just been doing, my neighbours must think I'm absolutely bonkers because I'm in and out of the house with different bits of equipment. But no, I think I've managed to find a really good balance, and part of me is almost like, oh, I don't really need to go back to a gym. I've got all this stuff here now. So but it's been good.
Are you enjoying lockdown? Is it something, because some people I speak to like the routine that they have, whether it's in rugby or whatever it might be, and other people are a bit more of a free spirit and actually love the fact they can kind of go and do what they want to do now, albeit I suppose they'd rather be in work. But you know, how are you finding that? Do you enjoy it?
I think I quite like it. I mean, it makes it it gives you a lot more freedom. Usually I'd sort of be in work 9 till 5, lucky to get off at 3 maybe on Sundays, but I think it's given me a lot of freedom. I still train in the evenings. It's actually really weird. I suppose I like that routine of it, that I've always trained in the evenings, so I haven't changed that at all. And I've just carried on doing that, so that, and I think it's so that I can get things done in the day, because I also want to kind of come out of lockdown with some sort of skill. So I've been trying to do a PT course as well and get that done.
Nice. Lovely.
But it's I think I do like how sort of relaxed it is and how much freedom I do have. The only thing I would say is that my coach, he's my dad, and obviously I haven't been able to see him for quite a few weeks now, so that's probably the most difficult bit, is not having someone watch you while you're training. Because I mean, I've done sport long enough now to crack on with sessions. I don't need someone to tell me to do it, but sometimes you just need that other eye watching you and to help you through some technical bits.
It's interesting you like training in the evening, even though now you've got all day to kind of do it. Like for me, I suppose, I mean, I'm not in any great shape by any stretch of the imagination, but for me, I suppose if I don't get it done in the morning, I really struggle to train at night because I'm knackered then. Not doing anything, but knackered.
Yeah. I don't know whether I'm like extremely lazy and just put it off till the evening, or it's part of that planning thing. And if I know what I've got coming, then I can prepare for it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it's that, but it's what I've always done. I've always trained in the evenings. I did, when I was in uni, I did try a little bit to do it in the mornings, but I think that's probably the worst time to start doing it, when you're in uni.
Yeah, definitely in uni.
I was just sleeping all day.
Exactly, not getting in till 3 or 4 at night. On that note, I'm going to have a beer now, actually. Got a nice little tiny rebel beer here, so I'm going to...
Oh, Very nice.
I know, well, to be fair, normally we do these sort of face-to-face when the world is normal and have a beer together and just kind of relaxed atmosphere, you know? So I try and keep it up just by having one every episode at the moment. So unless it's in the morning, then there's no need for that at all.
That's your kind of training. I can open.
Yeah, at the moment, that's about it, to be honest. Nice, that one. What's that one? A mango. Nice mango beer there. Yeah, it's lovely. So talk to me. So obviously your parents, big inspirations for you. I know your mum competed and your dad's your coach. Kind of, is that how you got started, or did you actually do other stuff as a kid and then kind of fell into that? How did that work?
Yeah. Well, I'm an only child, so I guess my parents just wanted rid of me most of the time, so they'd send me to loads of sports clubs.
Yeah.
So like when I was little, I did a bit of everything: gymnastics, horse riding, whatever sport I could find, I would do. And then I suppose it gets to a point where you have to sort of focus on one.
Yeah.
And around that age, I wasn't really starting to find one that I wanted to focus on, and I could see my friends going out and having fun, and I was kind of wanting to do that, but my mum, she was having none of it. She took me down to Newport Harriers and she was like, you're gonna be a runner, you're spending your time here. And although I sort of, when it first happened, I was like, no, I don't want to go, I just want to go to youth club.
Yeah.
I ended up really loving it, and I just spent most of my time down there. And it sort of stemmed from there, really. I think that was when I was about 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And I just love, like, it's the community. All sports find this, that you sort of find your friend there, and you feel safe and happy.
How do you find it? I suppose probably a different mindset as a kid as you are now as an adult, but with athletics, it's quite a singular sport in terms of it's you and you only, but then you are part of a wider team, but it's completely different to rugby or football or whatever. How does that affect your mindset of training and being serious or messing around with your mates, or what's that like?
Yeah. Do you know what? I always find athletics such a bizarre sport to explain to someone, especially if like you're part of a relay team as well, which is what I went to Glasgow for, because everyone's like, but how are you part of a team, but you're running for yourself? But it is really strange. And I think in athletics, you do have to be a little bit selfish as well, because like you say, with your friends, you want to go out with your friends. I have really, really understanding friends. They've never held it against me that every time I'm like, oh yeah, I'll come out on Saturday, and then at Saturday 6 p.m. I'm like, I'm not coming. So they've never judged me. But I think that it's something that if you want to be good at it, you have to have that part of you inside that says, okay, I'm going to have to give up a few other things here and there.
Yeah.
It is a sport that, you know, I'm running for just under 12 seconds, but I'm training for God knows how many hours a week. Yeah. And you have to just remember that everything is going to go into that 12 seconds. So that focus has to be there all the time, which sometimes can be a bit boring.
I was going to say, do you allow yourself, though, times maybe like off seasons or when you know what the calendar looks like, do you allow yourself times then to go, actually, I'm having a week off here, I'm having that cheat meal, I'm having that Domino's, whatever it might be, to just forget about everything for a second and just be normal Mica, not athletics? Do you allow yourself that?
I do. I probably don't do it as often as I should. And I think that sometimes that's just in, like, I don't know whether other sports people are the same, but I know a lot of my friends in athletics probably feel the same, is that sometimes you almost feel like, oh God, if I have that week off or if I have that meal, it might come back to haunt me at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't have my cheat meals as often as I would like to, but then in my brain, I think I've got loads of years to do that. Like, it's just, it's for some reason my mindset at the moment is just like, right, I've got this goal, I'd love to reach the next Commonwealth Games, so if you just give it everything you've got, then you can enjoy your life after that. Not that I don't enjoy my life now, but it's more of that mindset that it's always just in the back of your mind, that goal is there. And it's a tricky one, because you do have to have that time, and you do have to relax, you do have to let your hair down. But I think that my mind is focused on a goal at the moment.
And what other sports were you into then as a kid, sort of growing up? Obviously, athletics is where you ended up, but were you good at anything else in particular, or did you enjoy anything else?
Well, when I was little, I was like a proper little tomboy. I would do anything. The only sport I've never really got involved in is football. My dad, bless him, is my dad, bless him, is probably gutted because I've not really got into rugby. But he's always sort of in my ear, like, there's always time for that. He's always just like, sevens.
Yeah, I was going to say, get you on the seventh circuit.
He always sends me when they're having their scouting days, and he's like, you could go along for this. We could just taper your training a little bit. But no, I did everything. Gymnastics, as I said, horse riding. I mean, I'd be out in the street playing cricket with my dad, and he was like 9 years old. You could spin bowl. So
I love that.
So I just used to love it, just getting out and being active. So it's good to be able to sort of channel that into something and sort of achieve something from that. Yeah,
of course. And when did it start becoming not just a hobby where you're going down to a club with your mates and having a bit of a run, but actually turn into, right, we can shave milliseconds off here, seconds off here, and you can really start to make a mark? When did that come about?
Do you know what? I don't really think that I ever realised that in athletics until I'd sort of gone to the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
I think that I was really, really happy to make the team. I probably didn't train as hard as I do now when I made that team, and I was very lucky to make that team. And I think that sort of sparked something in me that was like, when I returned from Glasgow, I just thought, right, I've got to give everything now and sort of see what I can achieve with this. Unfortunately, it didn't really go to plan because I got a little bit ill and had some sort of viral infection. And that sort of scuppered all my athletics plans. But then that led on to bobsleigh. Yeah, of course. And then I took that sort of determination into bobsleigh. Yeah. I think that at one of the early testing days, when I went and changed sports bobsleigh, one of the coaches said you could make the Olympic team. And I think when someone says a comment like that to you, you just sort of think, well, if he's saying it, it must be true. Yeah. And then you've sort of just got to give it everything.
I've never been at that level for anything. So I don't know what that feels like, but I can imagine what it's like. What was it like? I was doing a bit of research and I've seen that when you were under 17 Wales Championships, and you raced, but your mum raced as well in the Masters. What was that like, both winning? Was it 100 and 200? What was that like?
Yeah, do you know what? It was really nice for mum to be able to do athletics when I started as well. Because as I said, I'm an only child, so I am very close with my parents. Yeah. And it's nice to be able to share something like that with them, especially because Dad coaching me, mum probably does feel a bit left out. So yeah, so it was nice for her to be able to do that. Now she can't run anymore because she pulled everything in the end. She's pulling hamstring after hamstring. So, but I call her my momager now. She's like there for everything that Dad can't sort out, and organises everything, structures any like sort of meetings that I have. She's on the side helping. But it was really nice to be able to have her there, and just because I'm probably an equal split mummy's girl, daddy's girl as well. So it was nice to have.
That's class, that is.
Yeah, it was really nice. Although I don't think I would be saying that when I'm on the start line with her. I don't want to know she's there. I'd sort of put a blinker on. And I've also had to race my boyfriend at one point. Okay. This was not too many years ago now, maybe a few summers ago, and we did this open competition. And he got seeded into my race because it was all mixed, so racing boys as well. Yeah. And he's stood on the start line and he was trying to get in my head. So he's like looking down the line like, good luck, Mica. I was like, shut up. And then there was a false start, and we're all walking back from the false start, and he's like, just don't worry about it, don't let it get in your head. I was like, oh my gosh, he was scared of me, I think. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it showed.
who was faster?
Him, unfortunately, but we do have a regular little race, and we have been doing in lockdown as well. I think I've seen it.
I think I seen one on your
Yeah.
Instagram where you were both going up the street. Like,
Yeah. It
class,
does
that
get
is.
competitive. He tries to tell me he's not competitive, but
Yeah.
I think he is.
I think any athlete, when you get to a certain level, it's just in them, no matter
Yeah.
what it is, whether it's I don't know, game of Monopoly, a race out in the street, golf, whatever it is. If you're with your mates or you're with another athlete, instantly just becomes competition. Even if you
Oh
don't
yeah.
say it, you're looking, going, "All right, done him there, unlucky."
We play rock paper scissors, and it gets ruthless.
I love that. Everything's competition. Talk to me about the Commonwealth then. So, what was that, Glasgow 2014?
Yes,
Yeah, what was
it
that
was.
like as an experience?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. That is still. Everyone asks what my favourite sort of sporting experience or sporting memory is, and I think that's up there with the best, really, because it was my first like experience of an international competition.
Yeah.
Sort of going away to a holding camp, away from home, away from family, just being surrounded by the team. And like the thing that I love the most about it is that it was competing for Wales.
Yeah.
I know competing for GB is like super cool, but to be able to compete for Wales on that stage and put on a red vest, you don't often get to do it.
No.
And it just makes you really patriotic. And yeah, I just love being able to do that. So I think that the crowd there were incredible, especially because it was a home crowd.
Yeah.
Even though we were Welsh and it was in Scotland, you have everyone in that stadium. As soon as you come out on track, the noise, it just erupts. It was really, really cool, and I loved that.
Do you feel pressure when you're walking out on you're walking out to the stadium, you're about to do the 4x100? Do you feel pressure? Do you feel nervous? How do you deal with that emotion and any anxiety that you might have or anything?
Yeah, I used to really struggle with nerves, and even up to this age now, I sort of go through swings and bouts of nerves, and I've seen sports psychologists for it as well, just to sort of try and harbour the nerves, because everyone gets nervous. They're good, it's good to have nerves. It gets you ready for a competition.
Yeah.
I don't think I was too nervous for Glasgow. I think it was really just a massive bout of excitement, because we were some of the youngest girls competing there.
Yeah.
It was our first time, competing there, and our first time on that stage. And I think that we just wanted to just go out there and enjoy it was the main thing. And that was the key message that just kept getting said to us. Just enjoy it, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a tough time in the heat. We almost didn't get the baton round, but that gave us a second chance. We were into the final, and then we could really, really just think, right, we're here now. We've done that hard bit to get here. So now we just relax and have fun with it all.
Yeah.
But I think that something like that and a competition like that is something I look back on when I am nervous, and I think, right, well, you've done that and it was fine. So you can do this. And it's just like picking up all these little memories that help with my nerves over time.
And do you call on the experience of other people then you might see around the stadium or I don't know about the Commonwealth, like the Olympic Village, they have one of those. Do you see people around at different meets and stuff who may be more experienced and maybe really successful in that particular field, even if it's not sprinting, and you can call on those? Do you get to know other people like that?
Yeah, so I mean, someone that I looked up to my whole life, like an athletic hero, is Lolo Jones, which I don't know she's an American sprint hurdler. She was set to get a gold medal at the Olympics, and she fell at the last hurdle and didn't get her medal. She's a bobslayer as well now. She also does dual sport, and I met her when I was on season in bobsleigh, and when I first saw her, like, I haven't told her this, but I was like, oh my God, it's Olympian. I was just trying to keep it cool, like, oh my God, hey. But she's absolutely lovely, and I've actually become really good friends with her. And she's definitely someone that I message if I am, like, we both sort of went through it last year. You know, when you're coming off another sport, you've trained completely differently for that sport, and then you're trying to get back into sprinting. It's really difficult, and you sort of doubting yourself, am I doing the right thing? Should I just stick to one sport? And we sort of just ping pong ideas off each other.
Yeah.
And you know, she'll say, oh, I'm not quite lifting weights that I was then, but my track is going a bit better. And you know, I'll say, oh, I'm shattered on the track, I can't run more than 100 meters, but I'm lifting heavy in the gym. And we just sort of give each other positivity off that. And I think that, yeah, it's really nice to be able to build relationships with people, not just in your sport, but in other sports as well. I mean, when you're in the village and you meet everyone from all these different sports, and you sort of see how they deal with their sport and their nerves and the competition, and it's really good to be able to see that and like share those experiences and steal some of their ideas.
Yeah, of course. And do you after, so you know, you've run the final, adrenaline is obviously pumping, how do you deal with that second part, which no one ever sees because you're not on screen, then you're away with your family, with your friends, coaches? How do you deal with that lull almost after the adrenaline's worn off? Because I can imagine that's quite a lonely place at time, maybe. I'm not sure, you know, you get massive highs, but also there are lows that come with it.
Yeah, really, really good question. Because when I came back from Pyeongchang, I was just in my house and I would just be randomly crying. And I rang my dad and I said, oh, Dad, I just feel terrible. I'm so sad all the time. And he just explained to me that is completely normal. And a lot of sports people go through that. And it is just having that massive high. You've worked so hard towards this goal and to achieve this goal. And now you've done it. And in your mind, you're thinking, one, what next? Yeah. Two, how do I do that all again if I am going to do it? Because it's a long slog and it's really difficult and it's so mentally draining, and it's just your body going through that process. So yeah, I've definitely been through that, and I think that it's normal for it to happen. And I think the thing to do is just to think positively about what you've achieved, and then sort of you start from scratch again. You've set yourself little goals, and that's sort of what I've been doing since then. I mean, I sort of missed the adrenaline rush, I think, of bobsleigh. I don't know why. But so I decided to go and do a charity boxing match to sort of get that adrenaline back. So I did that, tick that off the list, and then you just do little things. And then I had my first sprint competition. And obviously I was really nervous for that, but then it gets you back on that road. And I'm just really excited to start ticking off goals now.
A couple of things then. So how did you get on in the boxing match?
I lost. I was so devastated. But it was a real David versus Goliath. I mean, I'm 5'4". And at the time, my dad was telling me, he was saying, you need to put on some weight. Because I was really light. I just got back from Thailand. So I was about 62, 63 kilos. Whereas when I'm doing bobsleigh, I'm about 69, pushing 70. Yeah. But he was like, yeah, you need to just pad out a little bit. But this girl was about 75 kilos easily, and probably about a foot taller than me. So, but it was really funny. I wasn't nervous at all up until when the bell rang, which is probably the worst time to get nervous. But no, it was really good fun, and it was all for a good cause.
Yeah, as well. That would be I've had a few fights like that, and that would probably be my closest to not elite level sport, but the nerves that you might feel before a game or a sport of that magnitude. And I remember that
it gave me like a whole new respect for boxers.
I wish that I played rugby, I played football, cricket, and I've never been brilliant at any of them, but I could always do all right. And I started boxing because I stopped playing rugby, and my knees gone, shoulder just unfit, put on weight, just didn't care anymore about rugby, I suppose. And my mate said, come boxing, come to this fight. I stepped in sparring first time ever, and I was against this MMA guy who had like 3 fights, but he just took my nose clean off. But I was addicted instantly. Like, there's something about being punched and you find out a lot about yourself. And then the fight night, I remember it was in a I think it was in Cowbridge Leisure Centre, 400 or 500 people. My heart before, like, I've never experienced anything like it. And then as soon as the bell goes, for me, my legs went, because I'm a big lad. I was 125k at the time. Well, I was instantly just knackered. So like I went from the high to the low in about 10 seconds, and I hadn't done anything. Oh, it's berserk. But
did you walk out to a particular song?
Yeah, so I had You Got to Show Me Love.
Okay.
But I waited because it starts with like, can you feel it? Dun, 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 and I only started walking out when the beat kicked in, playing up to the crowd, loads of mates there, giving it the big one. Come on. Next thing you know, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm knackered. It was a draw, to be fair. I didn't lose. It was a draw. But I thought a guy who was bigger than me ripped up, and I was huge. Like, he should have smashed me. But I've had a few now, and weirdly now, the second and third fight, no nerves at all. Let's go.
No.
But that first one
great.
is, I've never ever experienced anything like it. And I recommend anyone go and have a charity white collar boxing match, and you just learn so much about yourself, I think.
Yeah. And the training. I loved the training. Because when I finished it, I really wanted to keep a part of the training in my training. It doesn't quite fit at the moment, but definitely once I'm done with sport, I'll be keeping fit by doing boxing, because it just strips you of anything. Of course
it does. And also I found that you know, again, with box, I know I'm fortunate to know a couple of boxers, and it's a nice community, as in, like, there's no dickheads, there's no egos, because they're all aware that there's someone bigger and there's someone harder. So there's no, like, if you're a beginner, they won't rip you for it. You know, come in, learn. A really good community I found as well. So fair play to you. So talk to me about, I know that obviously you were poorly, and that's kind of how you got into that bobsled transition, but how did someone actually contact you, or you contact them, and how did that conversation go and come about?
Yeah, so I actually blame it on my friend Judah. He was an athlete himself, a sprinter like me, and he went across to bobsleigh. So he's from Loughborough, and you do get a lot of the bobsleighers based up in Loughborough. You've got like Joel Fearon, who's run a sub 10-second 100 meters, but is one of the best bobsleighers in the world. He's based up there. And Judah, had messaged me this one day and said, "How are you getting on?" I said, "Oh, Judah, I'm feeling terrible. This virus has wiped me out. I've put on a bit of weight. I can't run more than 30 meters right now." And he said, "Oh, that pretty much sounds perfect, to be honest." He was like, "We need to get you into bobsleigh." So he said that there was some trials going on in Birmingham in like July time. So I went down, literally didn't expect anything to come of it. Dad came with me, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was like this sort of round robin testing. So you had to run 60 meters, see what time was, push a bobsleigh on wheels. They didn't give you any technical input. They just said, push it and we'll see what time you get. And then you do 5 jumping bounds into sand. And all of these things equated into a score. So at the end of the day, there was actually only me and one other girl there, and the rest of the people testing were boys. But at the end of the day, we got our scores back, and they were really pleased with my score. And they said, "Oh, you've actually almost beat the record that's already set in place." Wow. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
So they said, "We'd love you to come back and do this exact same testing against the rest of the girls who already compete." So I went back and did that again and won that testing. And then they asked for me to do a push testing. So when you're training for bobsleigh in Britain, there's obviously no snow around. So we go to a dry slope in Bath, which is literally like a 50-meter slope. It's probably about this angle. And it literally looks like a roller coaster. It goes down and then it stops at the bottom, and then you come back up it backwards on yourself. So they wanted me to do some push testing there, and that was in 4 weeks' time. So they said, "You've got 4 weeks, just come down as much as you want or as little as you want, however much you want it, just come and do it." To practice. So I practiced for 4 weeks. I drove over every day from Cardiff to Bath.
Oh, fair play.
And I'd go and practice in the morning, and then I'd come back and I'd do my sprint training with my dad in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then it came to the push test day, and I was really nervous because you can see your times when you're training, but it's whether you can put it together on the day. So gave it my best attempt and came first out of all the girls testing. So I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But I was just like, yeah, I won, cool.
Yeah.
And I was sort of celebrating with Dad, and then the head coach came over, and he said, oh, congratulations on winning testing. You do know that means you're going to go away on ice in 2 weeks' time. And I said, oh, right. Well, I don't even own any cold clothes. Like, it's like I train indoors.
Yeah.
So he said, you better get some gloves, a hat, you know, sort yourself out because you'll be on ice in 2 weeks. So it literally was just the quickest turnaround. And I think that was probably the best thing for me, for it to be a quick turnaround, because if I'd had a chance to think about what I was doing, I probably wouldn't have done it. Yeah. So we flew out to Calgary, which is if everyone knows bobsleigh through Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings, yeah.
Yeah, Calgary is the track where the Jamaicans, they made that track famous.
Yeah.
So I flew out to Calgary, and I watched a few sleds go by, and then they said, okay, we're just going to sit you in and we'll push you down with Mica driving, obviously, and you can have your first go. So we did that, and oh my God, it was bloody scary.
Because you're not in control at all then, are you? Everything's in the driver's hands.
Yeah.
You're just sat there when you're in there, fucking turning like.
Yeah, so literally just basically a dead weight in the back, holding on for dear life. And I held on so hard that when we got to the bottom, Mica hopped out and I hopped out, and my hands were still stuck in this position. She was like, are you okay? And I was trying to convince her that I was fine. I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. She was like, why are your hands still holding on?
That's class.
So, yeah. So it was really scary, but like I said earlier, the coach had said to me, you've got this chance to make the Olympics, and I really think that was just stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
Like that sort of, you know, that what he'd said to me, I just kept thinking, right, you've just got to push through this, even if you're scared, just keep going. So we raced, I think, that weekend, and we came away with like a second place or something. And then we just, and then it went from there. It was,
I suppose,
really, really quick.
I suppose for them, I mean, I've not got a clue, but I suppose they are bobsleigh, because it's not a traditional sport in terms of you would never do it in school and you'd actively have to go and get into it somehow. They're looking for good athletes, and they can, it's some transitional skills across in terms of speed, strength, but they can teach you the rest in a,
definitely.
in a shortish, you know, year, 2 year, 3 year window.
Yeah, and when you say, you know, I say that the training is very different. It is different in the sense that in bobsleigh, you just don't run as far. So we're like really super short sprinters. But even all the angles and things, you know, we do a start in sprinting, you do a start in bobsleigh. It's just slightly different that you're leaning on something, but all the mechanics of your legs are very, very similar. So yeah, it is a good sport to sort of cross in and out of. And I know a few people as well now who have gone from cycling to bobsleigh or bobsleigh to cycling as well. So
yeah, just power.
Speed and power. Ultimate speed and power athletes.
Did you find that your body shape changed? Because I suppose when you're quite petite, to put on 6-7 kilos is quite a lot for someone like that.
Yeah.
Is it noticeable? And you know, you eating loads more and obviously doing more weights and more powerlifting.
Well, yeah, I think that my body naturally doesn't carry weight that well. So if it's going to go on somewhere, it's going to the chin.
Same as me,
and the love handles. It doesn't go to the good places. If it went good places, I'd be fine. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't particularly go to the nice ones. So I did notice a difference. And but then also, to my performance, I definitely noticed a difference. Like I could lift way heavier weights. I mean, it's taken me from when I finished with bobsleigh to now to get to that weight that I was lifting in bobsleigh at that weight. So I was definitely stronger from that weight. I think that it made it difficult to run as fast, but you sort of have to give a little bit to take a little bit. But no, I was eating a bit more. Everyone used to laugh at me on season because at the time now I'm lactose intolerant. I don't drink milk. I don't eat dairy.
Yeah.
But then I sort of thought that I was celiac, so I needed to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
So I didn't eat a lot of carbs, and I don't eat a lot of carbs anyway. I'm not great with my diet on that, but every time meal time, they bring out all the meals, and then the waitress would come out and she'd be like, the one with no carbs. And everyone would sort of laugh at me because it's my meal, but it's a lot of veg and it's a lot of meat. I really love like meat and protein, but not so much on the carbs. But I just had to eat a little bit more, a few more bananas a day, a bit more chocolate. It wasn't the worst.
I can get with a diet like that. That's not a problem. Anything with more chocolates, I'm in for. And what was it like then? So because you won, you won a couple of you won like the junior worlds before getting to the Olympics. What was that like? That feeling where again you've kind of transitioned and you've won your first event. How does that feel? And how is it different from your Commonwealth experience and your winning your athletics heats and tournaments?
I think that it was different in the way that it was different was that sometimes I would be like, oh, this is like, it's amazing, I'm a world junior champion. But also I think that because bobsleigh is such a small sport and not many people know about it, you'd say that to someone, they're like, oh, cool. And you're like, no, it's actually really cool, like I'm a junior champion. But I think that but I think that in a sense I really enjoyed like the achievements that I got in bobsleigh, because in track it's so difficult to achieve great things. I mean, there's so many amazing sprinters. You've got Dina Asher-Smith, you've got Desiree Henry, you've got all these like incredible girls sprinting at the moment that are making it competitive and are making it difficult to get to the top of sprinting. But you go into bobsleigh and it's a bit of a smaller community, and it's equally as competitive, but there's more opportunity to win, and there's more opportunity to come away with a medal. I mean, you get a medal up to 6th place in bobsleigh. That's quite a nice feeling.
I didn't know that.
So when you're on World Cup, 6 people will be on the podium, and it's a really nice feeling to be on that podium, especially because it is so scary. So you sort of feel that you've like really achieved something. You're like, I got through it, and I got a medal. When you
watch the Winter Olympics, you see, is it the skeleton where they're on their own going head first?
Yeah.
That is berserk. How people get into that is beyond me. How do you train for that? Do you just lie on a skateboard and just like as a kid or something? Like,
they push at the same push track as us. They got this little tea tray that they lie on. But in fairness, everybody, when I first went into bobsleigh, everyone was like, with your size, you should be in skeleton.
Yeah.
I don't know what in my mind thought that either one was a good option, but it's I think that I don't think I could do that, and I don't think my mum would let me do that one either. I think I've pushed in as a bit too much.
That's a mad sport. Fair play to him, utmost respect. What was obviously, but so before the Olympics, they cut the funding for the female bobsleigh. And obviously you went on a bit of a journey with that just on its own then, in terms of being able to actually fund yourselves to get to these competitions. What was that like? Yeah,
that was absolutely bonkers. It was, so we'd come back from being world junior champions. We'd finished that season. We came home, had a bit of a rest, and then we went back to summer training. And then it was over that summer, we sort of thought, we had a few meetings about what the next year would look like. And then about 2 weeks before going on season for that sort of Olympic season, we had an email that said we'd like all the girls to meet us. And I couldn't actually meet that day. So I said, I'll just Skype in, it's fine. So I Skyped in, and it was the head of British Bobsleigh, and he sort of said, I'm really sorry to bring you this news, but we're going to be cutting the women's funding because there's been an overspend. So at the time, you sort of think like, oh, I don't really know what that means. Like, I don't know where my money comes from. It's, I thought it was national lottery funded, blah, blah, blah. But what had actually happened was they spent over £100,000 too much. And their thought process was that they would cut the girls rather than, you know, maybe cutting one of the boys' teams and then keeping one girl, one boy.
Yeah.
And their sort of reasoning behind that was that they'd looked at data and they'd seen that the boys were more likely to get a medal, which when you looked at the data wasn't the case. No one was likely to get a medal. We're British bobsleigh. We're not a winter sport. We're not a winter country. So no one's like, we're likely to go to the games, but we're not likely to get a medal. But so that was their reasoning behind it. And obviously, as girls and as women in sport, we felt that was really unjust and really unfair. So it's something that Mica wanted to sort of talk about and make sure that everyone knew that this was happening. But we also needed to think of a way that we could raise our money because we weren't going to get the money from them. Yeah. So we sat down as a group of girls. There was actually about 5 or 6 women bobsleighers at the time. So we sat down and we sort of grouped together some ideas, and we were like, car wash? No, it's not going to raise enough. Trying to think of all these things that we could do, because a bobsleigh season costs around £30,000, you know, at its lowest. Luckily Mica has her own sled, so that was a massive help because a sled costs like 60 grand plus.
Bloody hell.
So we didn't need to buy one of those, but we just needed to fund the season. So that means like going and staying in Airbnbs, paying for track runs because it costs to slide, renting cars to drive around in, all these sort of things.
Insurance, flights, food.
Yeah, life insurance.
Mad.
So we set up this GoFundMe and we sort of put it out there, not really expecting a lot. Yeah. But it just went crazy, and it sort of, like, in a sense, went viral. Yeah. And within 6 days, we raised £30,000. It was absolutely outrageous. I remember checking it, like, just checking it every few hours, and I was like, oh God, that's gone up by quite a lot. And then on the last day, we were just like, I don't know, £1,000 off the target. And it was like 8 p.m. hit, and we went over the target, and then it kind of kept going as well. So it was really, really incredible. I don't think people realise that if they donated to that, they've made someone's dream come true. Like
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really, 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 really cool that people can do that. So, yeah.
How do you, again, like, how do you stay so positive? You know, I obviously don't know each other well at all, but it's infectious almost, sort of how happy and positive you are. How do you stay positive in those situations where everything's against you, and if it doesn't happen, that's your career, I suppose, in bobsleigh kind of done, at least for that year and Olympic cycle?
Yeah, do you know what? It is really difficult. My boyfriend always says to me, why are you so happy? And I don't know why. I honestly, I think it's just sort of how I've been grown up, to just try. If you don't try, you don't get. Yeah. And if you don't put yourself out there, it's not going to happen. And I think that when I found out about this, a lot of the girls were really upset about it. And a few of them actually just said, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm just going to stop doing bobsleigh. And I could have had that thought process, but I just thought, why let someone else decide what's going to happen for you? Yeah. So when people started making those donations, my place at the Olympics definitely wasn't secured at that point, and I was fundraising for a dream that might have been for someone else to take. Yeah,
of course.
And I had to wait until Christmas to test to secure my spot as well. So all that time I was sort of hoping and training in a sense that I was going, but knowing that I still had to test as well and confirm that spot.
Were you working at the same time as well then?
No, so this is the other thing. So in the first season of bobsleigh, when I found out that I was sort of successful in making the team, I left the role that I just started in medical sales. So yeah, so I'd sort of given up a career and I'd set my heart on this dream, and all this had happened. But like I say, you've got to stay positive. And I genuinely think that I have this sort of positive outlook because I lived my life on Disney. And as sad as it sounds, I think that it's just made me this positive person, and just to have a positive outlook on life.
Yeah, that's what sports psychologists need. None of these talks, just watch Disney.
Yeah, you don't need to pay for these guys. Just pop Pocahontas on.
Disney Plus, 60 quid a year. Get on that.
Yeah.
Class.
Exactly.
So what was that like then? Obviously, you've done the World Cup, so the Bobsleigh World Cup, came 5th in that. That's pretty special.
That was in Whistler, I think.
Whistler,
so we went out on season. We got this many. We went out on season, and it actually went really well. It was kind of a really good, like, fuck you guys, because we managed to like have some good races, some really good start time, considering we're both really tiny girls, and to, you know, go out there and show what we were made of. The start of it as well is like no other start I've ever seen. It's really steep. Yeah. So when you're stood at the top of this track that I would ring my dad every day at and be like, Dad, I'm very scared to slide today. And he would sort of just, he would guide me through it, and he'd just be like, don't worry, you're going to be fine. You've never crashed here. And you can get through this. And so that positioning, that 5th place positioning, was something I was really proud of as well, because it was a track that I was super scared of. And one that I didn't like going to.
That's fair play to you. I couldn't do it, I don't think. 1, I'm too big to fit in the sled, but 2, it's berserk. So fair play. What was the Olympics like then? Obviously, you've been to a Commonwealth for athletics, and then you've obviously done that World Cup. What does that sort of GB and that Winter Olympics experience, how does that compare, and what's that like? Because I can imagine it's completely different to what, you know, a Summer Olympics or, you know, a Commonwealth Games.
Oh, you broke up a bit then.
Oh, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, not then. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's I don't know why.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it keeps cutting out a little bit. I was just saying, how does that, I can edit that out, so don't worry about that. How does that Winter Olympics experience, going as a GB athlete, competing in the Winter Olympics, how does that compare to your bread and butter and obviously the Commonwealths and that sort of what we would class as a summer sport? What's the differences, and how was that experience?
Do you know what? I think that being part of that Winter Olympics and being part of that community has given me a bit more of the hard-working ethic, because those guys work so hard. You do everything in the cold, you do everything in the wet, you're lifting the sled, you're doing everything for yourselves. I think as athletes and as summer sport people, we're very spoiled. Yeah. And we're a little bit like, I suppose we're a little bit glamorous. We're a bit, you know, we wouldn't usually do all the things that we're supposed to. So it's given me a lot better of a work ethic. I think that everyone in winter sport, I think the winter sport community is so nice. I mean, you're on the start line and you've got Canadians, Americans, Germans, all cheering for you, even though they're in competition with you. So you're on the start line and you've got Canadians, I mean, you've got USA, you've got Germans, you've got Swiss, all cheering for you. And I think it's genuinely because everyone understands how scary it is, and also because, you know, you just want to support people. You want to help people do well, and even though you're competitive with them, that doesn't mean that you can't hope for them to do well. I think that's really nice. I think sometimes in summer sports, we sometimes let that competitivity get a bit too much, and you almost want to win so much that you don't want someone else to win. And I think coming back from bobsleigh, I've got this whole new different outlook on sprinting now, and you know, I'm happy in the warm up. I'm, you know, giving people a smile, because I think